The book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Shut up the book and seal the book. Certain prophecies would be kept hidden in secret and would not be understood until the time of the end. This is a prophecy about the time of the end, or end times. Running to and fro refers to a time of increased travel, restlessness, and seeking and searching of knowledge and understanding of the prophecies in the Bible during the period of the end times. Increased knowledge. This refers to a significant growth and understanding in learning, encompassing both secular and spiritual knowledge. At the end of times, there will be a greater understanding of the Bible and the prophecies of the book. Biblical history, a spiritual guide for the blind. Universal Center for Renovation presents historical and biblical Israelites. This video is strictly for educational purposes and commentary. This video is of biblical and secular historical literature, so enjoy. Biblical history, Afro-Semitic or Shemitic, and Indian Semitic or Shemitic. Collaboration between man and artificial intelligence and knowledge of the Bible shall be increased. The man. The question. Can you give me the definition of American Indian Semite? The answer. Artificial intelligence. Sure. Here's a concise, citation-ready definition of American Indian Semite, formatted for writing or research. Definition: American Indian Semite. American Indian Semite. A historical and theological theory rooted in early modern biblical interpretation and colonial era exploration, which holds that the indigenous peoples of the Americas are descendants of the 10 lost tribes of Israel, exiled from the ancient northern kingdom after the Assyrian conquest, circa 722 BCE. Advocates of this view interpreted scripture passages, especially 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 to 47, as prophetic evidence that the tribes journeyed to a hidden land called Osiris, widely identified by 16th to 18th century writers with the Western Hemisphere. The term reflects both religious expectations of restoration and the colonial belief that discovering the lost tribes would fulfill biblical prophecy and signal the approach of the Messianic age. Key elements of the term American Indian refers to Native American peoples as encountered by Europeans post-1492. Semite, a biblical lineage tracing back to Shem, son of Noah, traditionally associated with Hebrews, Israelites, Arabs, and other Afro-Semitic nations. Context of use. Rooted in biblical ethnology, Genesis chapter 10 and other scriptures. Promoted by figures like James Adair, Manasseh ben Israel, and Bartolome de la Casa. Based on perceived religious and cultural parallels between native customs and Old Testament particulars. For example, purification rituals, tribal organization, sacred names. The general composition. The artwork is centered around the theme of biblical history, boldly written at the top. At the heart of the scene sits a human historian, a man of African descent, of so-called African American descent, and a humanoid robot, artificial intelligence. Both are intently focused on an open, illuminated book that radiates light, symbolizing knowledge, wisdom, and revelation, the Bible. The collaboration between human and AI suggests a blending of ancient tradition and modern technology in reconstructing and understanding history, biblical history. The main figures. Number one, the human historian. Dressed simply in a shirt, he represents scholarship, lived heritage, and cultural memory. His posture is engaged, leaning forward, pointing at the text, embodying curiosity, critical study, and teaching. Number two, the robot, the AI, a futuristic counterpart to the historian, symbolizing AI as a tool of analysis, preservation, and rediscovery. Its hand glows slightly as it interacts with the book, suggesting digital interpretation or enhancement of ancient sources. The pairing reflects a partnership between tradition and innovation. The supporting panels. The artwork is framed by thematic categories, each tied to historical research and identity. Afro-Semitic, top left. Portraits of darker skinned, woolly haired figures. These suggest the southern kingdom of Judah and an Afro Semitic identity, connecting biblical history with African roots. Indian Semitic, bottom left. Portraits of individuals with features tying Semitic heritage to indigenous Latino representation. This invokes the northern tribes of Israel, associated with diasporic identities extending into the Americas. Anthropology, top right. Symbols of skeletal remains, pottery, and material culture. These emphasize the scientific reconstruction of human past through physical anthropology. Archaeology, bottom right, shown with artifacts and a figure resembling indigenous heritage. Archaeology here represents the excavation of biblical and Semitic past, connecting material remains with living peoples. The once secret sealed book is now an open book. The Bible, the open book. The illuminated manuscript at the center depicts portraits that correspond to the identities on the side. Left page, Afro-Semitic figure. Right page, Indian Semitic figure. The glow from the book suggests ancient knowledge being rediscovered, as though the histories of marginalized Semitic groups are being brought back to light. The description, the collaboration between the human historian and the artificial intelligence represents a powerful new way of weaving the story of the Near East into the fabric of global history. The historian brings cultural memory, oral tradition, and lived heritage. The voices of communities whose roots reach back to the biblical world. The AI contributes its vast analytical power, able to sift through archaeology, anthropology, languages, and texts scattered across time and space. Together, they make ancient history speak to a modern audience. The Afro-Semitic and Indian Semitic identities, once marginalized or forgotten, are placed back at the center of biblical narratives. Archaeological finds, linguistic evidence, and genealogical memory are interlaced with digital reconstruction and global comparison, allowing the ancient Near East to be understood not as an isolated past, but as part of a shared human story. This partnership also reframes global history. From the past, it recovers diverse peoples and cultures often left out of the traditional record. In the present, it gives modern communities a clearer sense of identity and belonging within the long arc of civilization. And for the future, it opens pathways for history to be preserved, taught, and reimagined through technology, ensuring that the lessons of the ancient world continue to guide humanity in an interconnected age. In this way, the human and the machine together become storytellers of a unified global past, present, and future. Symbolism, partnership of man and machine. The historian and robot together symbolize the dual paths of oral tradition, cultural memory, and lived heritage. Human with digital analysis, data synthesis, and modern tools, AI. Rock fragments and artifacts on the table ground the scene in archaeology, reminding us that history is reconstructed from real material evidence. Contrast of warm and cool tones, warm earthly colors for the human, portraits and artifacts, past, tradition, and heritage. Contrast with the robot's cool metallic hues, future and technology. Interpretation. This image communicates that biblical history is diverse, multi ethnic, and global, not confined to a single portrayal. By presenting both Afro Semitic and Indian Semitic heritage alongside archaeology and anthropology, the artwork affirms that rediscovering the past requires inclusive perspectives. It also suggests that the future of historical understanding lies in the synergy of human scholarship and artificial intelligence, merging ancient voices with modern analytical power.